Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and I'm here with my co-host, Gail Burke, for a change. And we have as our guest this evening, John Mullady, the current Ward 4 School Committee member. So before we get into the issue of why you're running and all that good stuff, Gail, you got a few words of wisdom for us.
Well, I'm not sure they're words of wisdom, but it's the top of the page. I'm just a little cranky because on the way over, I was listening to the radio, and all they talk about is impeachment, 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 impeachment. I'm really tired of listening to it. I'm tired of the Democrats not allowing the Republicans to even take part in it. And it seems like it's going nowhere. But I wish that our entire delegation would stop and think for a minute. We have no representation other than Democrats from Massachusetts. And I wish they were not elected to impeach a president. They were elected to do a job, and they're not doing it. So all of you people out there, please contact your representatives in Congress, including Congressman Seth Moulton, and tell them to get moving and do the work for which they were elected. Thank you.
And with that word, we'll move on to the school committee in Beverly.
Yes.
You've been school committee for how many years now?
I'm currently in my second term.
Second term, so you're going for your third term.
Yes, sir.
Why are you still running?
I'm still running because I think I have a lot to offer. We're going to have some turnover with this school committee next January. So President Silverstein is not running for re-election. Paul Goodwin is not running for re-election. So I see if I have the opportunity to go back, I could see myself as one of the more senior veterans on the committee. And there's some more work to be done in terms of our fees that we've been talking about over the past couple of years. We have a budget cycle that we're going to be getting more money that was just passed by the State House. And we have a new superintendent, and I have experience writing superintendent evaluations, so I think having some consistency would be useful for the city itself.
You said there's some new issues you want to bring up or new programs you want to work on?
I think the question you're referring to is what did I feel like were some concerns or issues?
Yeah.
I think one of the big issue is funding, and I said that this is something that every community is facing. Across the state. The cost of education has been going up. It's going to continue to rise. I think my experience as a classroom teacher, as a union rep, I can help explain what those costs are and why they're needed. The other thing I think is important is that I've been a strong advocate for more funding for our schools. And I think if you go back and if you watch some of the school committee meetings, you'll see that when it comes to the budget, I try to put forward a budget or be part of a budget that has what's best for all our students, our teachers, and our staff.
If you got more extra money, where would you spend it? What kind of program?
Sure. So we have our priority list that we do in executive session. So we make a list as a school committee. Our superintendent makes a list of some things that we would like to do, and then as a committee, we work together to figure out what we can go forward. I think what I've learned, one of the biggest things I've learned is that we work best as a committee. So coming into a meeting with like a pet project isn't very useful. I know that there's a majority of us, or I shouldn't say majority, there's a number of us who would like the kindergarten fee to be addressed. So I would think putting some of that money towards addressing the kindergarten fee would be useful. A transportation fee as well. I mean, if you think about it this way, we're taxing parents to send their kids to school by riding the bus. Athletic fees that parents are paying, and not every fee is equitable. So we have a free public education, but parents are doling out a considerable amount of money to get their kids to school and to get them involved in different types of programs.
One of my questions was about the full-day kindergarten.
Sure.
Now, I know that Beverly does have a full-day kindergarten. Who pays for it?
The parents do.
The parents? Okay.
Yes.
Do you think that having a full-day kindergarten, because I know when it was started, there was a controversy about it, who should pay, who shouldn't pay. Do you think it's beneficial for the children at age 5 to be in kindergarten all day?
Yes, I do. Their hours are not the same as the hours of the other kids in the elementary school system. I know that the money that goes into the the money that goes into the kindergarten program is used for not just the kindergarten program, but into the general budget as well. So I think depending on where you are on this issue, you could present to me 15 different articles and say, here are 15 reasons why kindergarten, full-day kindergarten isn't necessary. I could present another 15 articles that will say full-day kindergarten is necessary. That's just like a personal belief of mine that I think there is a definite benefit of children attending full-day kindergarten. It does lower the achievement gap, and studies have shown that children who attend full-day kindergarten are going to have higher math scores and English scores as they go throughout the system.
Another question I had, there was an article in the Salem News, and there was a question on the survey asking whether candidates would support making a 2017 non-binding resolution to switch to 100% renewable energy sources by 2035, whether they want to make it binding. You did not respond to that.
Yeah, this is kind of an embarrassing story. I got the phone call from a number, I wasn't sure who it was, and I was putting my kids to bed, and I was actually in their bedroom, and I get the call. I thought it was a prank call.
Really?
Yeah, I've been a victim of a couple of phone scams. So my wife told me that I didn't say yes to the survey, and I said, "Oh my God, Liz, I thought that was fake."
So in the paper.
Yeah, I look very foolish.
So if you had another chance, what would you say now?
What do you feel about it?
So it's the survey was should it go from non-binding to binding? I think it should. I think this idea that certain types of programs don't work and they're not worth trying is very un-American. I mean,
what do you mean, certain types of programs?
So to give up on, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So to say something is not going to work, like going to renewable energy. I'm sorry, I got distracted. To say that the program wouldn't work is just to not even explore. I think that's un-American. I think we're a country that overcame the Great Depression. We had a terrible Civil War. We came back together. American exceptionalism. People use for why things won't work in the United States, and I think it should be used on why we should be trying different things out in the United States.
Well, what programs do you think don't work?
I don't think that. I think the program would work, but I've heard from some people saying that switching to complete renewable energy would never work, and they'll list a bunch of reasons why. That's not my opinion.
I think what a lot of people feel that switching to renewable energy now or soon isn't going to work because we don't have the anything that's going to replace fossil fuels right now. A little bit, but not totally. I mean, if you take all the solar and the windmills and all of that, that cannot replace fossil fuels right now. Whether it will in 2035, how do you make a decision now about 2035?
Well, I'm going to just address this in two ways. One, I don't think anyone watching tonight is going to care what my opinion is on this. They want to know, are their kids going to get a good education and what my stance is on certain types of school issues. I think it's worth trying. This is an investment in our future. It's our kids' future. And if we're just going to do this, then there's a lot of things in history I think people would have said, well, there's no way we should go in and defeat fascism because we don't have the ability to do it. We have the 17th largest army in 1940. So I don't believe not trying something is worth it, but I'd rather stick to school committee issues and not.
Okay. You're a teacher in Manchester.
Yes.
Right? Teach high school?
Yes. I teach an elective on 9/11 and the War on Terror, and I teach CP World History 2. World History 2 covers roughly from the Haitian Revolution up until World War II. My 9/11 course is brand new to the district. I got the approval from the school committee to do it in Manchester. Last year, I'm designing the course myself. We're having really intense, good conversations.
So you don't teach like American history?
I taught U.S. History 1 when I first started at Manchester, Essex, and then when I taught at Wellesley Middle School, I taught U.S. History as well.
Okay. One of the things that I see that you've been quoted as saying is you've seen your role change over the years.
Yes.
It's not just content. You're a counselor, you're a coach, you're a pseudo-parent. Now, I know you're running for the school committee. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of thinking permeate the Beverly schools as well, as far as teachers are concerned? What exactly do you mean by pseudo-parent?
So I'll say this on my own account. I've had students be hospitalized for suicide. I've lost a student to suicide, and having children come into the room after losing a peer, you find yourself in a counselor role. So when I said pseudo-parent, I would say, I'm providing comfort. I'm trying to provide an answer when you have 25 teenagers look at you and saying, why did this happen to so-and-so, or when is this person coming back? And that's what I meant. That's what I meant by that. I also see myself as, there are some kids who their home life isn't perfect, and to get a compliment from an adult, and in some cases a male figure, that goes a long way. So going to a soccer game for a kid whose parents aren't at the soccer game, and they see you in the field and they wave to you, it's something along those lines, and that's what I meant. I think if you get 15 teachers here, I don't care what district they're in, if they're in Lynn or if they're in Lexington, they're going to tell you that there's a tremendous amount of more responsibilities and pressure on classroom teachers and on paras and on educators in general. And a lot of that could be just the type of personalities that I think teachers are. You care, you want to give 110%. They're not just, my class of students isn't just my students or my kids. The entire school is that way. So I think that's where it was coming from in that. So not trying to undermine any one parent's or group's values. That's not my goal. The goal of education isn't indoctrination.
Well, this is the old process of the in loco parentis, that when the kids are in the school, the teachers and the administrators are acting as the parents and providing discipline, guidance, and all that. So there's more to education than what's in the book, is what I think you're getting to.
Oh, thank you, yes.
And I think the other issue comes down to, this is all well and good if you're doing it where you are. How does that get focused into or worked into the programs in Beverly? Because that's really what we're interested in tonight, is how does this affect what you're advocating for on the school committee, and what's the chances of making something happen?
So one of the things that the school committee can directly impact could be in terms of what the counselor to student ratio is going to be at some of the schools. It could be something as well as staffing at the elementary schools. We don't have librarians at the elementary schools. So having more qualified, trained educators in the buildings, I think would have a positive impact on everybody. Beverly has had a couple of conversations about social emotional learning.
Say that again, please.
I'm sorry, social emotional learning.
Okay.
So we've tried to get some professional development, which is the district and the city saying we value this. We're trying to train our teachers to come in. So for a small example, in kindergarten, my son Teddy talks about feelings and emotions and what zone he's in. So it's like a color-coded system. So Teddy knows that if he's in the red, he's anxious, he's upset, he's angry, and it's going to be hard for him to learn. So giving children at an early age the ability to communicate what they're feeling and why they're feeling that way is going to make it easier to be able to find a solution to teach them and to find out what's going on. It's definitely going to be a learning process, and we've had the conversations at the school committee level, and I know it's happening at all the school level as well.
Well, we had a discussion the other night with one of the candidates for city council, and the way the city work charter says, strong mayor, relatively weak city council. I remember different days on the school committee way back when, and the school committee has also changed to more control by the superintendent than the school committee itself. So how does this work? How can you influence the system in that kind of an environment?
Well, the superintendent, when Dr. Trocheck eventually puts forward the budget, so I could just talk to when Dr. Hershey put forward the budget, he designs the budget, what he would like to see, and then there's questions and answers on the school committee side. So if we say to the superintendent, and we said to former Superintendent Dr. Hershey, we want to see this amount of money going towards the reduction of the fee, then him and his team, central office, they change the budget to along those lines. So
Well, does he have to change the budget, or is it just how you work it?
He would have to, because he presents the budget, we vote on the budget.
So the mechanics of this is he presents a budget, you vote on it. Once you vote, the school committee votes on it, then it goes to City Hall, and they nod their head because they can't change it.
Yep.
Well, they can change it somewhat. They cannot pass it.
Sorry.
Yeah, they can't add money to the budget.
Right.
They can cut it. Okay.
So the superintendent doesn't have a vote on what the budget's going to be. We trust the superintendent that they're going to she'll put forward a budget that is based on the feedback from her central office team, the building leadership, the teachers union, as well as us. So it's part of a team effort to build the budget. But I would say at the end of the day, whatever budget that's presented to the school committee, we vote on it, we have a debate on it, and we have 2 public forums for the public to come forward and make specific questions or just general questions about the budget itself.
Well, how much influence does the school committee have on curriculum?
The school committee does not have a direct say on the curriculum in terms of we can't come in and say we would like there to be a ceramics classes taught all across the board. That's not in the bylaws of what the school committee can do. So, as you know, if I wanted to say that we're going to have an extra year of high school in Beverly for certain types of high school seniors to help them in college, that's not something that we can do. So when it comes to what's being taught in the classroom, we have some oversight. We approve of new electives. We approve of what the school improvement plan is going to be. We approve of the superintendent's evaluation, but we can't dictate what is being taught in the schools.
Well, for instance, if somebody on the school committee were to talk to other members and they said, these children are really not learning enough about government, how government works, we should think about promoting a civics course, a very strong civics course. Can the school committee do that?
Well, in that example, you're in good luck because the state has said that the schools need to be teaching civics, so we're going to be having to adhere to those guidelines. I guess in that example, if it wasn't civics, let's say it's Hungarian, and people are very passionate. Hungarian is the language of the future. We would have to go, I say, as a school committee, and say to the superintendent, we want to see this language brought forward. We feel very passionate about it. We're going to find the money for the staffing, for the program, and everything like that. And if the superintendent decides not to, then I don't know what the next step would be in that situation.
You get a new superintendent.
Well, I think the superintendent, if they're dismissed, would have a very good case of winning a case, saying that everything in my evaluation is good. I've done my job. I just didn't adhere to this. So that would be like a very messy situation. But the laws are set up to make sure that school committees, as well-intentioned as they may be, have financial oversight. We evaluate the superintendent, and we let the schools operate at that level. We don't want to micromanage.
Well, for instance, years ago when they put Common Core into the schools, and a lot of parents were against it, and as time went on, a lot of school systems have seen that it's not working very well. I don't know what the situation is in Beverly at this point, but do the scores get published? Is it showing improvement? Is it not showing improvement? And if it isn't, what does the school committee do to counteract that?
So last meeting we had our MCAS scores presented by our assistant superintendent, Dot Flaherty, and we had a breakdown of what our scores were last year, what our scores are this year under the new MCAS exam, and then a dive into the different subcategories of the city. So if we see that there's one demographic of students that has fallen behind the other demographics and there's a trend, we then start to have the conversation with, all right, well, what can we do to address some of those concerns? So we have the mayor's literacy program, which has been in effect for a couple of years. It relies on donors from the community. I think it's been successful in terms of catching kids who are sliding in their reading scores and preventing the slide and have them grow or at least try to maintain where they were. But we, as a committee, if we're presented with numbers that show that students are falling behind, I think it's our moral obligation to do something.
What do you mean by donors?
So like the greater YMCA donates their facilities.
Okay.
Other organizations help donate books, so each child in the program gets to come home each day with a new book. I don't remember the other organizations that donate to that off the top of my head.
Are the donors needed? You mean there aren't enough books in the system?
So
in the school system?
these are children's books that the kids get, and then they get to go home with. So it's not coming from the school's budget. The school district provides the teachers to teach the courses, but a lot of the material and then the aftercare that's at the YMCA is coming from donations.
Interesting. We hear a lot about global warming. Is that a top subject in the schools in Beverly? Or do they teach global cooling as well?
The only thing that has come before the school committee that I'd say was related to global warming is about solar panels and the wind farm. And that's all that I know of.
Now, do they, when they had the children all over the country, I guess it was all over the world, out there marching for global warming, was the Beverly school system involved in that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I was at work. I was at
You
work
keep
that
this
day.
stuff up, and I'm going to get wound up again.
I know that.
I know.
Go for it,
The
George.
joke is that global warming, renewable energy, and all the rest of that stuff is one of my hot buttons. And I approach it from a technical engineering point of view, and I'm all in favor of global warming because where we're sitting right now, 25,000 years ago was under a mile of ice. So I don't want to go back to that. But anyway, we get back to the school committee. One of the concerns I have is the previous superintendent proposed a STEAM program for the new middle school. And I was extremely disappointed that when the middle school got built, they didn't have the wherewithal to put in the 4 floors necessary to have all the technical support classrooms and the art classrooms for a STEAM program. And the last time I talked to the then assistant superintendent and now the superintendent, she was telling me there isn't a STEM certified teacher in the district. So again, another one of my hot buttons, and we got into this a little bit earlier about what can the school committee do to make something happen. And you think about the future, that's where it ought to be. And yet Beverly is not getting involved in it. So what's your take on how we should get something going in this area? Or do you think this is, I'm just on a fool's errand?
No, I don't think you're on a fool's errand at all. I think investing in STEM, STEAM, whatever acronym you want to use, I think that's very important, not just for our students, but I think the community itself, because when the kids get the opportunity to present the work that they've done, I think we all benefit because it shows the taxpayers the return on their investment. I know that there was one teacher at Beverly at the high school who was in the science program. This is just very specific, but he ended up leaving to go to another district because of the salary.
Yeah.
So I think when we look at what we're paying our teachers in comparison to other districts, if we're paying our teachers a salary that may not be enticing or enticing them to stay, I think that's a conversation that we're going to be having moving forward.
How would you feel about having a differential in pay for certain subjects?
It's interesting. That's I've heard that come up at my employment. Some teachers have said that how surprised they were to find out how the pay scales work. I mean, that would be if that's what the the union wants to do, then, and that's how they want to negotiate, then I'm not going to stand in their way. But it's hard to get good teachers in certain fields because of the coursework that it takes to get those degrees.
Well, to be a STEM certified teacher, you got to pass 2 MTELs, 33 and 51, and that's an extra effort. You already have increments in the budget or in the pay scale for advanced master's degrees and certificates and all this kind of stuff. So that's a way to focus the attention on this is what we need. We're willing to pay more for it and make it happen.
I hope Julia Brotherton's watching right now, because you might have given her some ideas for contract negotiations.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the time, so I have one quick question.
Okay. We could talk more over that scotch later if you want.
How many students from Beverly go to Essex Tech, and what's the cost?
I'm embarrassed because I have this on a spreadsheet in my bag, and I don't know the number.
Okay.
I'm off the top of my head, but that information was recently presented at our October 1st meeting.
Yeah.
That is public record, and if you contact the district, you'd be able to get that information very quickly. So I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's about time to wrap up. So would you like to say the last few words about your candidacy and what you hope to do?
So I think for starters, Gail and George, when I first got involved with city politics about 50 pounds ago, you were both very friendly and supportive. And one of the things that you told me when I first came on the show is that we're just having a conversation. So, I appreciate it. We're not always agreeing eye to eye on certain issues, but you always give people the opportunity to present their information to the public, and you're doing a public service. So I want to thank you both very much, and Elliot, you too. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to represent my friends and my neighbors in Ward 4 on the school committee. I've enjoyed my time talking to many residents about where they see our schools going, what's the good that they've done. I've wanted to be a teacher since I've been in elementary school, and being a teacher has been the highlight of my life. And having the opportunity to serve on the school committee, to be an advocate and an ally for our students and our teachers has been absolutely tremendous. I would love the opportunity to go back. There's still some more good work to do, and I would like to be there for our community. And thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, John.
Thank you.
I want to thank the viewers for watching. We've tried to have as many candidates running for office as we could. George has done a tremendous job, as has Elliot, in getting these people on and presenting them to you. So I think we have, how many more?
2 more to go.
2 more to go. So I hope...
Or maybe 3.
Maybe 3. I hope you'll continue to watch, and we'll see you next time.